Welcome to the channel, everybody. My name is Ryan, and this is the Unreal world, and we are back with our Spirit Quest Resurrected. Here we are at our little base camp. We're going to take a look at the world map real quick, and as we zoom in, you can see our location right here, marked with the X with the little red dot. That is us right there. We got a couple of villages around and a nice large area for hunting in. And of course, just directly to the north of us are the Koivula, who is probably the one we visited the most. That's the culture we're most familiar with at this point in this playthrough. We've been doing some quests for them and stuff, and since this is the Spirit Quest series, we're going to be trying to get a lot more of those done. So what we are doing, we're heading out. As you can see, it's the small hours of the morning, just changed over. It is the dead of winter, very, very deep winter. It's cold outside. We've got our skis on. We're actually able to travel right over the frozen water now, which is very helpful. But unfortunately, I don't have enough to actually go out and do like a major trading trip with, but we will. Don't worry about that. Oh, look at this here too. We're actually coming across a nice little pine marten. So I'm going to go into stealth mode here because we're right behind it. Now, I don't like that my dog, see how my dog is right in front of my character? So if I were to wield an arrow and take a shot at this, it's almost likely that I would hit the dog. So what I need to do is move forward a little bit. Yeah, and unfortunately, I think the weasel or the pine marten heard us. But nonetheless, I'm still going to take a shot at it. Now you can also see my endurance is pretty high. My fatigue is pretty high. So it's not going to be a very good shot, but we'll try it. Oh, nailed it. Serious crippled leg. Okay. So it's possible we might get this one. Let's zoom out. Of course, in hunting, it's always my recommendation to zoom out as far as you can. In fact, try and get used to playing the game on the farthest zoomed out setting. Inferior hunting stick. Okay, so now we're skiing again. This is going to be tricky just because we don't have full visibility. As you can see, it's still pretty dark out. So I'm basically going by the tracks here. Now, looks like the little pine marten's going right into the forest. So that's a bad sign. For all you guys who have just tuned in to the series for the very first time, I usually don't try and track animals through these dense forests like this, just because it's extremely difficult to actually get sight of them. You can track them using their footprints and stuff, but in terms of actually spying them out and stuff, it becomes very difficult. So I'm just going to write off that little pine marten as a loss. Unfortunately, we did lose an arrow in that, but that's okay. We can always trade for some more or craft our own down the road. Now, I don't know if you guys can see it here, but I just noticed we got an elk right here. So that's a nice little consolation prize for not getting that pine marten. So let's go for this one. It is out in the open, which is good. There it is, just popped in behind us. Okay, let's encounter the elk here. Ooh, look at this. So we're directly in front of it. No need to go into stealth. In fact, I probably couldn't even if I wanted to. But I'm going to grab another arrow. Okay. And the elk is unsuspecting. Doesn't think we're going to shoot at it because it's still standing there. But I'm taking a shot. Headshot. Let's go. Oh, I'm going to zoom out. We missed it. I think I'm going to try a fowling arrow. There we go. So the fowling arrows are more for small game. Oh, punctured it in the face, but they seem to be pretty accurate. And I mean, it can still down a large animal in my experience. It's just obviously going to be more difficult. But let me grab my ski stick again so we can ski. And let's track this baby. So there it is right up there. Let's take a look at it. I always try and look at the animal. There we go. So it's a little bit fatigued. We need to get that we need to make it breathless, essentially. So let's go ahead. Oh, look at it. It's right by the tree line there, too. Now, it's not necessarily a hopeless cause because, okay, now it's a hopeless cause. Went right into the trees. I was going to say, it's not necessarily going to go into the forest. You know, animals are dumb, so they won't always hide into the trees, but this one did, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to move back out. Now, it's not a total loss here. I can still hopefully scare this animal out of the woods a little bit. Maybe we can round it up and get it to come out here into the flatlands. So I'm going to hang out in this general area. You can see I'm just moving back and forth. Every time I take a step, time passes. And I'm hoping if we zoom back in here, you don't necessarily have to encounter the animal But it helps, obviously, if you encounter it, then you know for sure you're going to zoom in on it. But otherwise, you can stay in the general area and just pop in and out of the local terrain map like this. And occasionally you'll get lucky and see the animal again. So let's just move forward here. I'm just skiing towards the tree line where we previously lost the animals. So this was about roughly where we were-ish. We'll be able to come across the tracks again if we're lucky. Okay, I think I passed it. So we'll zoom back out, just move around. Again, try this spot. Let's zoom in here. Okay, this is the exact area we just left, but that's okay. Again, the goal... Oh, what is that? Okay, the goal is not to necessarily encounter the animal on the world map, but maybe to kind of scare it out of the trees. Let's see here. Now, sometimes, the animal will remain in the area, and it's possible to see it twice, but sometimes they just take off, That elk probably could have took off running and didn't stop till it reached the sunset. So we've got a little squirrel in our sights now. You see him down there to the south. So there we go. Perfect. So the squirrel is now trapped in this tree here. So this is going to be our consolation prize for not getting the elk, I think. Oops. So I'm going to use my rough fouling arrows here just because this probably shouldn't be too much of a challenge since it is trapped in the tree. All right, let's take another shot at it. Oh, not quite, not quite. No worries, I'll just keep repeating that. Action, body, pierces the foreleg. All right, we actually hit it that time. Oh, got it. Okay, so it's unconscious. Let's grab our knife, and I will blunt to the skull. Let's do that again. Now I'm going to hurry up and pick it up before the dog eats it. Let me look at my dog, actually. Sweetie, how you doing? Oh, she's starved, as usual. So, not a big deal. Now we've got a squirrel carcass on us. Ooh, look at that. You see it? There's the elk. Yep. And I guarantee you that's the same one. So what I'm going to do is re-wield my ski stick here. I'm also, before we go and encounter the elk, I am going to try that again, but I'm going to rest because I want to go into this encounter as rested as possible. So you can see now I'm at -19 penalty. Most of that is just due to carry weight. We don't have any injuries or starvation or blood loss, so it's all just carry weight at this point. Now, I guess if I really wanted to get slimmed down, I could dump out my water, for instance, empty that water out. So that brought us from 19 to 17, you see, a little bit better. You want this number as close to 0 as possible. It means you're totally rested, you're not fatigued at all. If it gets to 100%, you're stuck. You can't move, you have to rest. But we're good, so let's move forward. And you can see the moose disappear, or the elk disappeared, but I'm still going to zoom in here manually. There's tracks everywhere around here, so this is going to make it extremely difficult to actually track the animal using its footprints, but maybe we can get lucky. Let's see, T heading southwest. Let's follow this set. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this definitely makes it harder tracking the animal when it's got so many tracks in an area that are just like scattered. And oh, there it is though. There it is. All right, let's take a look at it. Yep, that's the one. It's got my fouling arrow in it, punctured in the face. Poor elk. We better put this one out of its misery, right? We don't want this beast out there in the wilderness carrying an arrow in the face. That's just not humane. So, all right, so it saw me, and it's kind of sprinting away. I'm pretty far from it, so I'm not actually going to try and wield my arrow at this point. I'm just going to move forward to my last sighting. Here we go. This is about where we saw it last. There it is. And whenever I lose visual on the animal, I always try and look at it again once I've reacquired it, just for my own information, so I know what its status is. It's still only a little bit fatigued, so we need to keep the pressure on it. The goal in a situation like this is not necessarily to kill the animal outright with an arrow shot. I mean, that's great if you can do that, but honestly, the way that I end up killing most animals is by fatiguing them out, just through attrition hunting, like our old ancestors used to do. You know, just run the animal ragged until it literally can't run anymore, and then you can just walk right up to it and dispatch it, and it's yours. So that's what we're going for with this one too. And still only slightly fatigued. So obviously a big animal like this, it's going to take a lot of work to tire it out, but I might take another shot at it too. Like I said, my goal is not necessarily to kill it outright, but I will take a few pot shots at it if we can get close enough. Like, Now, that's a pretty good distance. Let me try a fouling arrow here. I seem to have pretty good luck with these. Even if it's against a bigger animal, they just seem pretty accurate. Look at that. Nailed it. All right, so it has got 2 punctures, one in the face, one in the shoulder. They're not very hard, bad punctures or anything. These fouling arrows are mainly for small game, as I understand it, but still, it's helpful. So let's grab our ski stick and keep pursuing. Okay, you can see the animal is now fully fatigued. This is kind of the mid-level, so now we need to get it to very fatigued and then to breathless. Once it's breathless, that's when we can walk right up to it. Okay, there we go. The animal is breathless, and watch it as I move towards it. You'll see that it simply can't outrun me. Now, it's hard to tell because it's snowing, but it is actually trying to run right now. You can see that just because it's got like a little bit of dust beneath its feet, but it can't get away because it's breathless. So I'm literally just skiing up to it. We're only traveling at 2 miles an hour right now, even on skis, because my girl is in stealth mode. So this is going to be a pretty easy catch here. Like I say, the animal's pretty much dead on its feet, essentially, so I'm just going to get right up next to it. At this point, the only thing that could ruin the hunt is if my endurance was so high that I had to stop and rest, because then the animal would probably get away. It's possible to rest in very short bursts and kind of, micromanage the combat so you don't get overexerted, but, I mean, this way is so much better, so let's just wield. We'll go for the knife. She's a better knife fighter than she is an axe fighter, so I want to keep my main weapon here, my knife, for now at least. And I like to go for the legs. I like to try and knock the animal down, and then we'll go for the skull after that. So you can see it can't even move from me now. It's just taking hit after hit. Okay, there it goes. So it is now down on the ground. It's not quite unconscious, but I'm going to go for some blunt hits to the head here. So let's try some head hits until it goes unconscious. And ultimately what we're looking for is a little puddle of blood, because once you see the little red underneath the animal, then you know it's dead. All right, just got to be careful in a situation like this too when it's still moving around. You don't want to accidentally hit your dog. I've done that before. I'll target a square where I think the elk's going to be, and then it'll move and I hit the dog. But as long as you're careful, you won't do that. All right, there we go. And a few more hits. Big animal. Okay, now it is dead. You can see a little bit of red there next to it. Now, because our dog is starved, I'm going to move it away and tie it to this tree over here. If I were to try and process this animal with the dog right next to me, Sweetie would start to eat the dog, or eat the animal, so I don't want to do that. So we're going to tie it to the tree. Come on down here. I'm going to go ahead and rest a little bit. And, I can also replace my ski stick. This way we're skiing again now. Very good to get yourself back to a situated level. Like if it was the summer, I would knock a new arrow. But since we're in the winter, I want my ski stick ready. But there we go. So we skin the animal. And we have, what's it called? A fine winter elk skin. That's very nice. Now, I'm probably going to take this home and turn it into leather. But let's not worry about that now. Need to rest. You can see I'm at a negative 111. So she's pretty tired from skinning the animal. We will rest, and now we will butcher. Okay, so the animal is completely butchered. I've got the bones, I've got the skin here on me right now, but you can see that the meat itself is laying on the ground. Now, I would not be able to pick up and carry all 196 of these cuts. That's essentially, that would put me over 300 pounds of carrying, and our girl Athena isn't quite that strong to carry all that. So what I'm going to do is push some of this meat onto the dog. Any animals you buy and keep with you can carry stuff for you. Obviously, bigger animals like bulls and cows can carry more than the dog, but I'm just going to try and push as much as Sweetie can carry. So let's start with 50 cuts. Okay, she was able to carry that. And don't worry, she won't eat any of the food that I put on her. So as long as it's packed on her back, it's safe. She's not going to eat it. All right, let's try. Let's see. So she can't carry very much. There are different sizes of dogs, too. So you could get a big dog, for instance, which might be able to carry a bit more than Sweetie can here. But, all right, let's see. Is that enough? Now, unfortunately, even with the dog packed, and if I look at the animal now, I can see. It tells me it's carrying 50 elk cuts here. But even with that, I still can't move when I have all the meat on me. So I'm going to jump out to the world map. Let me just look real quick. Where am I? Okay, so my shelter's down here. I need to head back south. What I'm going to do is drop some of the meat here. And I also usually I drop the bones too. Just because the bones, they are pretty weighty. It's 8 pounds for 4 bones. So I'm going to drop that. And I'll probably drop like 46 cuts. Okay, perfect. So that brought us down from 100 to under 100, which essentially means now I can move. And before we leave, just because I do want to try and come back here and recover this meat before it rots, since it's winter time, we probably will be able to do that. And we're so close to our shelter. So I'm going to mark this spot on the map. Now I can come back here very easily and I don't have to stumble around searching for a tiny little red dot that isn't marked, essentially. Because if you don't mark it, that's all you're looking for. It's just a little cuts of meat that might be sitting there on the ground. So we're going to come back to our shelter. Oh, look at that. Do you see it? There's an elk right next to the shelter right now. Holy crap. All right, let's go for it. It's literally on my shelter. So this thing is like up in my camp right now. Yes, let's encounter it. There's also a bird there. Look at it. It's right there. Where's my shelter though? Oh, okay. I know where it's at. The shelter's roughly up here off screen. The dog bone, this is the tree I was tying Sweetie up to. That bone right there was her meal. So now I know where we're at. There's also a bird right in front of me. I'm going to hunt this elk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop everything. Like I said, since we're not actually that far from the shelter, and I know its relative location, I'm going to be able to come back to this little pile of stuff right here. But let's go for this. Let's do 2 kills in one day. What do you say? And this is a big boy here. This is a full-grown bull elk, I think. Bull elk, yep. Looks a little bit fatigued. That's good. So for whatever reason, it's just already a little bit tired. Isn't that unusual, to be honest. Sometimes the animals will just be a little tired when you first encounter them, but it's just moseying around over here. So what I want to do is get a little closer to it. So maybe I can take a shot at it, spook it a little bit. Maybe even if we can cripple the animal with an arrow shot, that would be good too. This guy he's not very skittish, but man, he's moving. All right, that's probably good enough. Let's try a fowling arrow. I've been having such luck with these. All right, so we're going to take a shot at it. Boom. I tell you what, those fowling arrows, they don't do a lot of damage to the animal, but they're super accurate. All right, so there's that. I'm going to grab my ski stick again, because again, we just got to pursue the animal till it's tired. Okay, let's take a look at it. I've reacquired it, so I'm going to... Okay, it's still only a little bit fatigued, still carrying around my arrow, but as you can see, I've got an arrow knocked and ready, so I'm going to go ahead and take a shot at it. Boom. Another hit with the fowling arrow. These things are amazing. All right, so again, and it's not like, it's not crippled or anything. It does say a deep puncture, though, in the skull and one in the thorax, so this thing's getting wounded. Now, if I were to move from this point, we would take our skis off, so in the winter, hunting is a little bit more tricky. There's definitely a few more steps. You gotta remember to take your ski stick off, knock the arrow, then put your ski stick back on. It could be a little tedious, but oh boy, it's bleeding out. Okay, we're okay. Let's keep going. Okay, oh, it just lost a step. So I can tell just by the fact that we're keeping up with it here while I'm not yeah, it just lost a step. So, oh, it still says it's only slightly fatigued. I think we've seriously injured it here, so it's losing ground, but not because of fatigue, but I think because of injury. See this? I'm able to literally keep up with it. Okay, now it's fatigued. Normally it wouldn't be this slow unless it was breathless, but this animal must be seriously hurt, so this is pretty much another guaranteed kill for us, guys. What luck, too. Man, this area is just prime with elk. I'm telling you what. So I'm going to keep skiing right up to it until I get right next to it like this. Okay, now I will wield my knife and we'll repeat the process we did with the last one. Okay, so we are back at camp here. I butchered, skinned, I got the elk all processed. Now I did have to leave a big chunk of that meat behind, but we're going to go get it. But first things first, I want to retrieve this stuff. So this is what we got from that first kill. All right, it's going to take me a moment or two to get everything rounded up, but we're going to have 2 elk furs and a squirrel fur. Don't forget about that. We did kill that squirrel. So I'm just going to be dropping this stuff off real quick. I'm going to drop the fat here too. Very good. I'm dropping the meat right next to my shelter because we're going to prepare this in a second. But before I do this, before I dive into processing these animals, I want to get back up there. Yeah, I'm going to leave the dog behind for now. And we've got a pile of stuff right here. So I got another 150 elk cuts. Damn it, you know what? I probably should have brought the dog because now I'm going to have to do this in stages too. That's okay. Since it's winter, it's not going to go bad, most likely. Now, if this were the summer, I probably wouldn't have even tried to get that second elk just because I would have realized that it, you know, some of the meat would be going bad and stuff. So in my mind, in the summer, you got to be much more selective. You can't be just killing over and over again because unless you're like really prepared to get all these animals processed, you know, some of the stuff's going to go bad. So in other words, we're fine in the winter. Summer, you got to be a bit more careful. Okay, so let's grab this. Like I said, it's going to be about a half day before I get all this stuff policed up, but in the end, we're going to be coming out of this with like over 400 cuts of elk and 2 skins. So that was a pretty successful hunt right there, guys. Okay, everything is back here at camp. I've got the skins on me. Let's just see how much meat we ended up with. 450 elk cuts right there. That's both of those elks together. It's kind of amazing they came to an even number, but there you go. That's pretty good. And I've got the 2 skins on me. Let's go ahead and drop the squirrel. We'll do this first. Yeah, that's unfortunate, but it says that the hide of this grizzly squirrel carcass is too mutilated. That often happens with those smaller animals. If you shoot arrows at it, or even just 1 or 2 cuts will often like mutilate the skin a little bit too much. So, you know, there are recipes for blunt arrows in this mod pack. I don't know if those are in base game or not, but you can make blunt arrows, which might help you prevent that if you're just going for small game. I don't know how well a blunt arrow is going to do against a full-grown elk, but, you know, you can see that it's not such a big issue with an elk. You know, I hit both of these with a few arrows, and they're still okay. So, in other words, all we can do with the squirrel is just get the meat and stuff off of it, which is a little unfortunate because you can see it gave me 1 single squirrel cut, which I'm just going to go ahead and sacrifice. Not a big deal. But I guess with the fat, I've got some squirrel fat on me now. I'll probably just roast that up and have it for breakfast or something. But I'm going to go through the long, laborious process of prepping all this meat and all these skins. Okay, well, we are now working on the final elk fur, the final stage, and I've got all the meat dried. Look at that. It literally took me like 3 days to do all of this. So I'm going to go ahead and sleep real quick so we get rested. Oh, my boy, she has been working herself to death, guys. Let me tell you what, but this is good. We've got some serious meat now. There's a stack of 450 right here. Now, of course, that's going to take about a month. We've got another 230-ish right here. That's going to take another 7 days. There's like 2 little pieces right there. But then in the shelter, I've also got another little over 100 here, and there was another pile while I was finishing those 2 animals that actually finished as well. So I've got like a stack of 47, another stack of 71. So you can see we're doing pretty good on the food. In fact, you know what? Instead of dropping that, I think I'm going to pick this stuff up. I had talked about turning those skins into leather too, but I decided against it because I think I want to take some of this stuff up north now and maybe do some trading. It is a great time to look for some trade goods now that we've got all of these furs and stuff and all this meat. And with the meat, I might actually hire some help, because I'm thinking in the last episode I picked out a little spot and it's not too far from here. It's actually this X right here. I kind of fell in love with that spot, and I'll show you guys here shortly what this area looks like, but I think this might be the spot where I build my cabin and our final home. So what I'm going to do is, like I said, we're going to head north, and we're going to go to the yellow Koivula here. We're going to, like I said, do a little trading, maybe buy another dog or 2, actually. That's probably what I should be doing. And we're going to hire some people who have axes. It's very important that we get some helpers who can actually chop trees down for me. I mean, it's not a bad thing to have a few guys with like bows and arrows, but they're not going to be able to chop trees. So really, I'm just here coming up north to get some labor at this point. But man, oh man, that was a successful hunt. So real quick, like I said, let me just show you. I'm going to travel down here, southeast, and where is it? Where is it? You can see I always mark stuff on the map. That way it's so much easier to find. There it is right there. So this area is kind of special because it's just a little pine mire. So it's like this cleared out area over here where there's very few trees, but it's surrounded by forests on all sides. So it's a cool little spot. I like it. And as I've stressed before several times in the series and other series in the past, it's very important in an open world sandbox game like this. If you're going to set down roots and build a cabin and stuff, make sure it's a spot that you really like for whatever reason, so that, you know, it motivates you to keep coming back to it, to keep improving on the land and stuff like that. But I like this spot especially well because it's clear. Here, there's so much room to build. I could build a whole village in this little square, and there's trees everywhere, so we got plenty of lumber. I don't have to worry about running out of wood or like floating it down a river on a raft or anything like that. And speaking of water, there's a good amount of water here. There's a couple little ponds nearby, so I like this spot. This is where we're going to set up our cabin. But like I said, we're not doing all the labor ourselves. No, not when we're this wealthy. So I'm going to we've got the furs on us. Let's see, did I get everything? Make sure. Yeah, I got one fine winter elk fur, two regular ones. We got that pine marten fur I caught a few months back, and a squirrel fur. Not to mention, I've got just a whole mess of food here too. So we're going to go up north, like I said, maybe get a dog and some helpers, guys. And that's going to do it for today's episode. It's been a pretty eventful one, I'm not going to lie. I did not expect to get 2 elk kills back to back. But hey, sometimes you just get lucky, right, guys? So I really appreciate y'all tuning in for the series. It really makes my day knowing that there's a nice crowd of people out there who enjoy the Unreal world and love to watch me play it. So I really appreciate you guys. Hit that like button for me, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all on the next one.